Have you ever wanted to play Diablo 4 on easy mode? This is where the bash barb comes in handy. Today I will be showing you guys a very busted Diablo 4 barbarian build that will easily allow you to push through high tier pits and uber bosses. What is really nice with this build is it has really good damage as well as a very large amount of health. This build is also fast and very simple for farming things like pits, hell tides, or whatever you're going to be farming. Of course, our main part of this build, bash, enhanced bash, and combat bash. This is our main damage dealer here. Our next skill here, we're going to have imposing presence, which is going to 18% max life, and martial vigor, which is going to give us 12% damage reduction from elites. For our first shot, we're going to use rallying cry, enhanced rallying cry, and strategic rallying cry. This will allow us to be unstoppable and fortify. For our next shout, iron skin, enhanced iron skin, and tactical iron skin. This will allow us to generate a barrier and heal 10% of our health. For our next abilities, outburst and tough as nails. This is going to give us a decent amount of thorns based off our health and enemies hitting us. For our next shot, we're going to go with challenging shout and enhanced challenging shout, allowing us to have a 40% damage reduction and 20% bonus maximum life. And for our next shout, of course, we're going to go with the 3 shout route. We're going to use war cry, enhanced war cry, and powering cry, allowing us to scale our damage and granting us berserking. With that being said, booming voice is going to be very important. This is going to increase our shout duration. It's going to help us all around, especially in the pit. You're going to want this. Swiftness is going to give us a little bit of extra movement speed. We're just going to put 1 point there. Aggressive resistance is going to give us 12% damage reduction while berserking. We're going to go with pit fighter here, giving you a 9% damage to close enemies while giving you a 6% reduction from distance enemies. We're also going to take no mercy, allowing you to have a 9% crit chance versus stunned, immobilized, and slowed enemies. Next, we're going to be taking slaying strike. This one's going to give you 24 increased damage to injured enemies. For one of our last abilities that we're going to be using on our hotbar is steel grasp, enhanced steel grasp, and fighter steel grasp, and this is going to allow you to pull all your enemies together while making them vulnerable and also giving you berserking. This is what you're going to want to use to group everything up when you're inside the pit, or anything you need to group up a mass amount of enemies. You want to use this ability. Thick skin is going to give you a small amount of fortify every time you take direct damage. This one's pretty nice as well. Next, we have counter offensive, and while you're fortified, when you're above 50% of your maximum health, so when you're fortified for above 50%, you're going to do 12% more damage. Heavy-handed is the next skill we're going to go with, and when you're using two-handed weapons, you're going to deal 15% more crit damage. And the next skill we're going to go with is wallop, and this is going to allow us to do 15% more damage when we're using our maces. So you can see how this two-handed, the mace is going to correlate with each other. Next, we're going to go with concussive, and this is while using a mace, you're going to be able to have a chance at stunning enemies for 3 seconds. And the last thing you want is for your passive is unconstrained, allowing you for longer and stronger berserking. This is going to be really nice because you're going to constantly be berserking. So you're going to be constantly resetting your berserking timer and your duration. It's gonna be good. For the Paragon board, I will go throw it up really fast, but I'm going to leave the planner in the description below that I used. This is actually someone else's build. It's a really good build. It's Rob. Everyone knows Rob. If you've seen Bash Barb, you probably want to follow his build. It's pretty direct, but I'm going to go through the Paragon board with you, but I'm going to make it really fast, so just bear with me. For your main glyph on your first board, your starting board, you're going to be using Exploit. And for your second board, Warbringer, we're going to be using the glyph Territorial. For your third board, you're going to be using Carnage, and you're going to be using Eerie, I would say. Yeah, it sounds right. All right, for your fourth board, you're going to be using Blood Rage, and we're going to be using Martial on this one. For your fifth board, we're going to be using Decimator, and we're going to be using Undaunting on this board for your glyph. For your next board, we're going to go down, and we're going to look at Bone Breaker. This is a basic board. This is to give you some maximum life. No glyph here. All right, so now if we go all the way down to the bottom board closest to your starting board, we're going to be using Hemorrhage, and we're going to be using Might, the Might glyph. And like I said, most of these boards, these Paragon boards, are going to be built to give you more health, and that's going to be really nice. You're going to see you can stack up to, if you got the right build, 100k plus in HP, and it's just crazy survivability on the Barbarian. Also, for the gear, I'm relatively going to show you the same that I did with the Paragon board. I'm going to make it very quick. I'm going to show you what I'm using, and I'm going to show you what you need certain tempers. You need that to make the bash barb really nice. That's what makes the bash barb excel, is the the right gear with the right timbers and affixes. For my helmet, I'm going to be using the Harley Quinn's crest. For my chest armor, I'm going to be using the Tyrell's might. For the gloves, you're going to be running. You want these. You want the Pangor's gauntlets. This is going to give you crazy amount of critical strike chance as well as attack speed. So this is what you want. You want this. For the pants, you're going to want to use the aspect of might. It's good to have your aspects. This is going to give us damage reduction. And for the pants, the tempering, it doesn't really matter super. It's not that important until you get to the weapons. That's the main part of this build. For your boots, you're going to be want to use hectic aspect, and you're going to want movement speed on your boots. Alright, for your first weapon, your bludgeoning weapon, we're going to be using aspect of the moonrise, and you're going to want bash cleave on your tempering. This is very, very, very important on all the weapons. And we're going to go with damage while berserking on this one. Your first dual wield weapon, so your first and second sword, you're going to want to go with damage while berserking and also bash cleave. We want to make sure this bash cleave is on everything we can get it on, and if we can masterwork this on all of these, it's great. You're going to scale amazing damage on bash. It's just going to be completely ridiculous. And would you guess it, for our slashing weapon, we want bash cleaves. Once again, we're going to go damage to close enemies here. You can get that on all your gear too. That's really nice. You can also get it on all your swords. Damage to close or damage while berserking is pretty solid, either or. Now for our rings, we're going to go with bold chieftain's aspect and aspect to elements. We're going to look for attack speed here, damage to close, and we're going to go with war cry cooldown. If you can get that, it's really good. But we want attack speed, crit chance, damage to close. That's the main important stuff right there. Now for our amulet, we're going to go here and we're going to want cooldown reduction if you can get it, critical strike chance, and damage to close enemies and shout cooldown reduction, because we're going to be spamming our shouts. This is what's going to keep us extra, I could say juicy, fortified, doing more damage and everything else. So yep, just cooldown reduction. That's usually what you want. With that being said, for the weapons, we're going to throw in gem. The gem we're going to be throwing in is Topaz, 45% increase to basic skill damage. That's bash. It's going to go crazy. You want that. For your armor, of course, we're going to go with ruby. Your amulets, your rings, you're going to want to go for the resistance. Whatever one you're missing, you can correlate them. Say sapphire is cold resistance and amethyst is shadow resistance. You can throw in whatever you want, but make sure you get full resistances. So that's a good way right there. Is a nice little tip just to get your full resistances if you use the gems in that slots, because usually most of the armor you have is going to have max armor anyway, and the max armor is what, 9,000 something. You'll be good. Just make sure you have max resistances. It's going to help you late game. You need this late game, so that part is pretty important, so pay attention to that. Like I said, your affixes and your tempering are really important, so make sure you pay attention to that. And your technique we're to be going with is the two-handed axe. It's nerfed, but it's still really good. You want to go with this. There's nothing else really better. And like I said, the Diablo 4 planner is going to be in the description down below. And if this video helped you in any sort of way, we greatly appreciate the subscribe button. And Barbarian is the best build in the game. I don't care what you say in the comments down below. Barbarian is the best build in the game.